The night I was elected, November 2006, I said in hastily prepared remarks written on the kitchen table at my mother's house that the best answers to the challenges that we face don't come from Beacon Hill. They come from listening. And as chair of the Telecom, Utilities, and Energy Committee, listening on this issue in particular has been my priority. When I asked Senate President Murray for the appointment to serve as the chair of the Telecom, Utilities, and Energy Committee before the session, I told her what my plans were when it came to the process for considering certain bills. And the Wind Energy Siting Reform Act in particular, I told her that one of the things I wanted to do was not just have a hearing at the State House on the bill, that I wanted to have multiple hearings, and that I wanted to have those hearings outside of the State House. As many of you know, we had 15 hours of hearings in both Hancock and in Barnstable. We heard from both, and mainly, I will tell you, people who were opposed to those proposals, and to some individuals, mostly in the administration, who supported those proposals. This was not, by any means, in any way, shape, or form, the only listening I did on this issue. I watched the documentary Windfall. I met personally, because I could not make his presentation, with Dr. Ben Luce to talk about the issues that he saw when it came to wind, and in particular wind on ridgelines. I traveled, as some of you know, to communities where projects have been proposed and met both with proponents and opponents, and I traveled to communities where projects are already up and running and met with proponents and opponents. The goal of this listening was to develop an answer to the following question. What is the proper siting policy in Massachusetts? Before I come to my answer on that, I want to tell you what I've heard. Because I think oftentimes people hear elected officials or politicians say, well, I'm listening, and then they think it goes in one ear and out the other. So I want to tell you what I heard from opponents when it comes not only to wind energy, but to the Siting Reform Act. I heard concerns about local control, frustration about corporate subsidies and where the benefits of those subsidies would flow, lack of local benefit for those host communities where projects have been proposed, concerns about replacing existing environmental law with siting standards, various drafting and language concerns built into the bill. I heard a call for doing standards first and not doing standards in a bill that also called for an expedited process. I heard concerns about the impact that overdevelopment would have on the tourism economy here in the Berkshires and on real estate. When it comes to a more broader critique of our energy policy, I heard people say that they wanted more focus on energy efficiency and conservation, that there ought to be support for solar or other renewables first or more, and there were questions about why other alternatives were not necessarily being pursued. When it comes to supporters, the two main arguments that they made were that it is currently easier to cite fossil fuels in the Commonwealth than it is to cite wind projects, and that it shouldn't take an extremely long time to approve or deny projects. So I will try and address most, if not all of those, but based on that listening, based on that research, I plan on making the following recommendations to my fellow members of the Telecom, Utilities, and Energy Committee, of which there are 15 other members, and to the House Chair. I believe that we ought to take the 3 Wind Energy Siting Reform Acts and put them into a study order. That will effectively end debate on those bills for this legislative session. What action do I think we should pursue? What is the right siting policy in the Commonwealth? I think the committee should work to draft a bill that requires the administration to develop siting standards. As many of you know who have read the bill, there is a portion of the bill that calls for the development of siting standards. I do not think that we should simply amend the bill, carve out the other portions, those that affect siting and permitting, and move forward with that, because I would like to see the development of the siting standards done a little bit differently than is crafted in that bill. It is unclear to me, first of all, how many members there should be. There's a great deal of leeway between 21 or 22 members of the advisory panel that would draft those standards, and I am open to what role those standards ought to play, whether it is as a baseline across the Commonwealth from which communities can go above but not below, or if it is simply a local option. So again, I think the three forms of the Wind Energy Siting Reform Act, those filed by Representative Smizek, those filed by Senator Feingold, and those filed by Representative Coulter, ought to go into a study order. What that does is end debate on those measures for this session. If I supported them in full, I would tell you I think they should move forward. I do not think that is the case. I think the right siting policy is not to affect the local permitting process at this time, and not to affect our existing environmental laws at this time. I think we ought to develop siting standards first, and I think that is what should move forward. It's what I support, and it's what I am going to advocate for in this legislative session. Now,